I am going to be naming the best player from each Big Sky team coming into the 2024 season. Each team, one player. You can disagree with me. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with me. Let me know in the comments if you think I left somebody out. Also, I wanted to point out, if you guys watched my video last week, I mentioned Chaden James as one of the best returning receivers into the Big Sky. I was incorrect about that. Chaden James is now at Fresno State. The reason I didn't notice that is because I've been checking him all offseason to see if he had transferred. And he didn't actually transfer until April 30th, so only a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, I should have seen that. I should have searched him up before I posted my video. But Chaden James, not at Idaho State anymore. So my top 9 receivers, go back to that and look at it. My top 9 receivers returned to the Big Sky. My top 9 receivers returned to the Big Sky minus Chaden James. So I can't remember who was number 2 on that list. Might have been Keelan White, or I guess number 3. No, number 2 on that list. I can't remember who's number 2 on that list, but you guys go check that out. Let me know what you thought about it. Oh, Efton Chisholm. Efton Chisholm would now be the number 1 receiver returning to the Big Sky. We'll see how that shapes up this year. But my best player from each Big Sky team coming into 2024, number 1. Well, not even number 1. They're not ranking. It's just one player from each team. MSU, Montana State. Obviously, you know who I'm going to say. Tommy Mellott. The guy, probably the best quarterback in the conference right now. The Eastern Washington Kekoa Visperus might have something to say about that. I'm so sorry. Let me say right now. I saw him on Sam Herder's top 25 list last week, Kekoa Visperus. I'm not talking about Tommy Mellott. I'm on a little tangent right now. I saw him on Sam Herder's list last week, and I was not familiar with your game, bro. I was not. Young guy, too. I didn't put his grade on here. He is my Eastern Washington player. Young guy, too. Throws it all over the place. Obviously, we know that's what Eastern Washington loves to do, but I'll get to him in a minute. For Montana State, Tommy Mellott, 1,068 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think that's miraculous. Obviously, they don't throw the ball a ton, but to only throw 2 interceptions is crazy. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's great. That's a great, I think that's what, 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's amazing. And then 85 rush yards, 609 or 85 rushes. Could you imagine Tommy Mellott only rushing for 85 rush yards in a season? Somebody would say he had to have got hurt. Knock on wood, we don't want to see that. Either way, 85 rushes, 690 yards, 5 touchdowns. Absolutely crazy season. It would have been even better of a season. He was pretty banged up this year, and he got hurt towards the end of the season, but I think he was pretty hurt towards the middle of the season. So I think he's a guy who could honestly throw for 1,000 and rush for 1,000 in the same season. I would love to see that. But he's been pretty banged up throughout his career. I'm hoping that they run him less. Obviously, we would want to see a 1,000 season, but I hope he doesn't ever do that, because that means they're running the heck out of him, and he's most likely going to be banged up. I mean, we've seen him get banged up, I think, every year besides his freshman year when he came in for the Natty, or when he came in for that Natty run, and even in the Natty run, he got hurt in the Natty. So it's like, I hope they just manage him well. I hope they manage him well. I hope they don't run him into the dirt. I hope they stop with the power run. I hope they keep that zone read in there. He does that really well. But Tommy Mellott is the best player. First team all-conference quarterback for the Cats this year. Really good player. So, yeah, that's my Montana State player. For Montana, the best player for the Montana Grizzlies is going to be Mr. Junior Bergen, the wide receiver, punt returner from Montana. That's what I forgot. I meant to put his punt return stats on here, or his returner. I only put returner because he's punt return, kick returner. I think he was all conference as a punt returner. I should have put these on here. First team all conference wide receiver, but I think he was a returner as well. I think punt returner. I think punt returner he was also punt returner. But 59 receptions, 791 yards, 5 touchdowns, 13.4 yards per catch. We all know what Junior Bergen can do in the return game. Get the ball in his hands, he'll make things happen. We saw that with his honestly his kickoff, I think it was all punt return ability in the playoffs. One against Furman, one against North Dakota State in back-to-back weeks. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then he had one against Utah Tech. He had a few during the regular season, but man, ball player. Get the ball in his hands. He can make things happen. Expecting big, big things from him this year. Hoping one of those Montana receivers can get 1,000 yards this year. As a former Grizz, I hope I get to see that. But as an objective viewer, really love watching Junior play the game. He's a really good player. Obviously, I'd say he's probably one of the best players in the conference, if not the best all-around athlete in the conference. I would probably give that to Junior Bergen. You guys can let me know if you would pick anybody over that, but I don't think many people besides him are probably Tommy, probably the two best athletes in the conference. I don't think you can really argue that, and I would probably take Junior just because of his ability to return the football from the kickoff and punt return position, play receiver. He played running back as a freshman, so like he's very versatile. You can put him all over the field. He's a ball player. He played quarterback in high school, so you know he can do it all. Not to say he's the best thrower, but he can do a lot of things. Wildcat quarterback, you know, he's thrown some touchdowns with the double passes that they have. So that's my Montana player. For UC Davis, I have Lan Larison, the running back. First team all-conference running back, 178 carries, 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry. 6.2 yards per carry is nice. Let me tell you right now, that is very nice. Very, very nice. Really good running back. I'm pretty sure he got hurt late in the season. UC Davis probably would have been a better outfit later on in the season had they had him. I'm almost positive he was pretty hurt late in the season. But UC Davis got snubbed too, not making the playoffs last year. So I know they're returning their quarterback, returning Lan Larison. They should have some pretty good pieces this year. I don't know what the rest of their team looks like, honestly, but UC Davis should be a pretty decent team with their quarterback and running back. I mean, I feel like if you got a quarterback and running back, you can build around that. I mean, you need an offensive line. I don't know. I have to do a little bit more research on UC Davis as a squad, but Lan Larison is a player for sure, and he's my best player, I think, on the UC Davis squad coming into 2024. Now, Eastern Washington. Please correct me in the comments if I'm saying my guy's name wrong. Kekoa Visperas. I don't know where he's from. I don't want to I don't even know how to say that, like say where he's like, I don't know. I think it seems like a Pacific Islander last name, first and last name to me, but I don't know for sure. So somebody let me know in the comments. All Big Sky honorable mention quarterback. He threw for 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Probably a little bit too many interceptions there, but I think he was a sophomore last year, so a younger guy. Still room to grow. He's got two good receivers, Nolan Olm and Efton Chisholm, obviously on his squad. They throw the ball around a lot. I think their defense is something that really, really hurt them last year. They were able to put up points, but they couldn't stop a cold at all. And they don't tackle well. They didn't tackle well, at least then. So that's something that they're going to have to improve on. But Kekoa Visperas, the quarterback for Eastern Washington, really good player, best player on their squad. I did juggle with Efton Chisholm, putting Efton Chisholm on there for a minute. But the reason I put Kekoa on there is because Kekoa is the one throwing Efton the ball. Respectfully. Efton Chisholm, one of the best receivers in the Big Sky. I mentioned at the beginning of this, probably the best receiver returning in the Big Sky this year. Since Jaden James is not returning, he's going to a different conference, going to the Missouri or Mountain West. But Efton Chisholm, probably the best receiver returning in the Big Sky, but Kekoa was throwing you the ball, so got to put him over you, respectfully. Yeah, that's my Eastern Washington pick. If you guys would have chosen Efton, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Now, to Portland State. And I know I'm looking at this list right now. Man, an honorable mention for Montana State is Brody Grebe. I really like his game. He's a great player. I just want to throw that in there. That's my honorable mention for Montana State, but I'm going to move on. Because I've realized what I was about to say is I haven't put a defensive player on here, and you're not going to see one for a couple more picks. So please hang in there with me. Either way, Portland State, you got Dante Chachere at quarterback. Very similar game to a Tommy Mellott. Throws the ball, runs the ball. They do it all. 1,500 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 17 that would be crazy. 7 interceptions, 113 carries, 629 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. One thing that I thought was very interesting and I thought spoke volumes, and here I am again about to talk about Tommy Mellott from Montana State. Tommy Mellott, so Dante Chachere had 113 carries, 629 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So more touchdowns than Tommy, but Tommy had 85 rushes for 690 yards and 5 touchdowns. So almost 30 less carries than Dante, and really only like 60 more rushing yards, less touchdowns. But I wish I would have put Tommy's yards per carry on there, because if Dante's is 5.6, Tommy's has to be about 6 or 7 yards a carry, which is ridiculous for a quarterback, man. And that just speaks volumes to how good Tommy is. Dante Satcheray was not honorable mention all conference or anything like that, but he's a really good player, and he's somebody you got to be aware of when you play Portland State. They ran the ball really well last year, partly probably because of him and their run game. Their offensive line wasn't bad, so they were able to get push in the offensive line, in the run game last year. We'll see how they progress this year. Obviously, they got Satcheray. But you need more than just a quarterback at the FCS level. I mean, the quarterback is the piece that you need, but you need defense. And another outfit with Portland State. So Eastern Washington, they had good offense last year, couldn't stop a cold. Portland State had inconsistent offense last year, but their defense really did not get the job done. So defense is the key. I was talking to Coulter Nuanez about this the other day. I texted him about it, and I'm like, you know what separates the better defenses from the worst defenses? It's the defenses that tackle well. And I might have said this last week on my Tuesday video. Defenses that tackle well are usually the better defenses in the subdivision. Usually the better defenses in the FCS. Like South Dakota State tackled well, really good. North Dakota State tackled well. Didn't have a great regular season, but they showed up in the playoffs. Montana State, a better tackling team, is one of the better teams in the Big Sky. Montana, obviously a really good tackling team, really good outfit. Furman in the SoCon, really good tackling squad, really good squad overall. I mean, Villanova, good tackling squad, great squad from the CAA. I could go on, but it's like, you look at those teams that tackle well, those are usually the teams that are going to be the better defenses, because that's what it comes down to. There's usually somebody there. Usually guys are in the right spot. You just have to be in the right spot and make the play at the same time. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm going to continue. Sac State is our next school. We have Caden Bennett, the quarterback at Sac State, threw for 2,100, almost 2,200 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 131 carries in the run game, 564 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4.3 yards per carry. Caden Bennett, somebody who started splitting time later on in the season. I don't know if that's because he was dealing with an injury or because they were trying to get their young quarterback Conklin some reps. Either way, they were a pretty good. They made the playoffs, but whenever it came down to like tough competition, like Montana State, Montana, did they play Idaho? I don't know if they played Idaho last year. They might have played Idaho last year. But Sac State couldn't get it done in the big game last year, and that's something we hadn't seen from them from the last 3 years, 2019, 2021, and 2022. They were the team to beat in the conference, those three, or not even 2022, 2018, 2019, and 2021. None of the Big Sky, I think, played over the COVID year, but yeah, like, they were the team to beat. And, last year they just couldn't get over the hump when they came against some stiff competition. Caden Bennett, like Dante Satcheray, was not all conference anything. Threw for a lot of passing yards. Honestly, might have threw for the most yards in the conference. No. Kakoa had more than him. Kikoa. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. But Caden Bennett played pretty good last year. Did not stink it up at all. Played pretty well. But we'll see how they do this year. They've lost one receiver, Carlos Hill. They lost some defensive pieces that are probably going to hurt on that side. They also lost Terrace Marshall, really good tight end, H-back, probably in the league. But they should be pretty decent. I think they returned a couple of running backs. They returned Jared Gibson at receiver. I don't know who they got at tight end, but they got some decent weapons on offense. I think it'll come down to their offensive line, their linebacker position. They had some good linebackers last year. Armand Bailey being the main one, first team all conference. Looking to replace him. How are they going to do that? I'm interested. Either way, we'll move on. For Idaho State. Now, I do really like their young quarterback. I do. Jordan Cook, I think he's got a great arm. I think he could throw at a lot of different arm angles. I think he can do some things. But he threw 13 touchdowns and like 12 interceptions. Like, I can't rock with that, bro. I can't. And he didn't start the whole year. I'm pretty sure he was splitting time with another quarterback. So for the Idaho State squad, Christian Fredrickson, wide receiver, 53 receptions, 791 yards, 5 touchdowns, 14.9 yards per catch. I don't know if he was honorable mention or anything. He was not. So that's fine. I mean, you don't have to be all conference anything to make the list. And he wasn't, and he did make the list. Idaho State, Christian Fredrickson, wide receiver, really good player, really big player, 6'4", 206 pounds. He great catch radius, can do some things with the ball in his hands after the catch. Really good receiver, probably going to be their marquee guy this year. Really like what I saw from him last year. I remember, I think it was the Montana game. They played Montana pretty early in conference. It might have been Montana's first conference game last year. I remember watching him. I was like, man, who's this guy? This guy, big, tall receiver, making plays, like not afraid to run across the middle to get hit. Like I said, great catch radius. Doesn't make a ton of 50-50 catches. I don't think they threw him a lot of 50-50 catches last year. I didn't watch all of their games, but I don't think they threw him a ton. But decent statistics. It's funny enough, Chaden James had 102 receptions for 1,000 yards. And then you look at Christian Fredrickson, had half that at 53 receptions and had almost 800 yards. So just a little bit under 250 yards less, just a little over 250 yards less than Chaden James, and almost half the receptions he had. So just let that speak to you for a second. But I'm really high on Christian Fredrickson. He's my top player returning for Idaho State. Let me know if you guys think I missed on that, and we will move on. Idaho, Keyshawn James, newbie at D-line. I think he's a D-end. All Big Sky honorable mention. That's what I forgot to put on about him. His stats. So I'm going to look up his stats real quick if you'll give me just a second. Give me just a second. Here we go. Where was he from? Idaho. Idaho finished second in the conference. Good for them. But I'm looking for somebody right now. Keyshawn James, newbie. I think this is somebody I potentially could have missed on in terms of like who is better returning at Idaho State. Idaho. I think I saw quite a few players that could have been, that were worthy of being mentioned on this list, but I liked Keyshawn James, newbie, young guy, 6'3", 250 pounds. He's from Montana, actually, too, Helena, Montana. Surprised that they let him get out of the state. I mean, why would they let him get out of the state of Montana? Why? How could they let him get out of the state of Montana? Montana State and Montana? How the heck did you let this guy get out of Montana? I don't know. 12 solo tackles, 5 sacks, no forced fumbles, no interceptions. I think he, like I said, he was all Big Sky honorable mention. Young guy too, only a sophomore, so he'll be looking to do better off of that last year. 6'3", 250, he's a unit, absolute unit at the D-line, defensive end position. Helena guy, like I said, Montana guy, man, like I can't believe they let this kid get out of the state. I'm going to need some more information about that, about why Vegan or Bobby let this guy get out of Montana. Like, why the heck isn't he playing in maroon or gold and blue and gold? Like, why? Somebody leave a comment and let me know about that. We'll move on. Cal Poly, absolute dog at the DN position. Elijah Ponder, 32 solo tackles, 8.5 sacks. I don't think he had any forced fumbles or interceptions either, but a dog. Obviously, that Cal Poly squad finished second to last in the conference, so nothing to sneeze about there. They were 3-8 last year, but you know, Elijah Ponder was a bright spot on that squad, and he will be returning in 2024. So he was a first-team all-conference player as well. So really shining on a very lackluster squad, especially too because like if you understand how the voting is weighed for Cal Poly, for not even for Cal Poly, for the Big Sky, if you understand how they do the voting and whose votes holds more weight, it's basically where you finish in the conference, your votes are going to hold. Like Montana won the conference, so they're probably going to have the most all-conference picks. And then so forth and so on with Idaho and Montana State finishing third. And then, you know, it goes down the list. But that's how votes are weighted. So Montana, because I used to always wonder, like, back in the day when I was still playing, Sac State would win the conference. And then, you know, you'd look at some of our guys' stats and they'd be higher than some of the Sac State guys' stats. But the Sac State guys are getting first team all-conference. And I'm like, what? But you understand that the people who win the conference, the team that wins the conference is probably going to get the most all-conference picks because they get the most, I think it's like points. I don't know how it's weighted. Coach Pease was telling me about it one time. But yeah, but what I was going to say along those lines is Elijah Ponder, his team finished terribly last year, and he's still, you know, first team all-conference. So that means the coaches respect who he is as a player. They respect his game. They see the film. They see how he's able to affect people. Wish I would have watched more Cal Poly games. I didn't really have a reason to watch a lot of Cal Poly games last year. But maybe I will this year. Maybe I will this year. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments, and I'll move on. Okay, with NAU, Alex McLaughlin, a defensive back, 35 solo tackles, 4 interceptions, and 6 pass breakups. Now, somebody can let me know, is this guy a corner or a defensive back or a safety? I think he might be a safety because I don't know if I see a lot of corners get this many tackles, 35 solo tackles. I mean, I don't know if any corner is ever going to get that many tackles. But seems like a safety to me. He had 71 total tackles. I don't know if a corner can even get that many tackles. Like, somebody let me know if you've ever seen a corner get 71 tackles. I got to believe this guy's probably a safety. But 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. That's another. He's got to be first team honorable. He's got to be honorable mention or something. Let me see. I'll tell you right now. I think he was actually like second team all conference defense. He was second team all conference defense. I just forgot to put it on here. Alex McLaughlin, second team all conference defense. 4 interceptions. I think he might have led the conference with that, with the 4 interceptions. Trevin Gradney might have been tied with that. I don't know if anybody beat them with 4 to 5. I think Trevin had 4 too. You guys can let me know in the comments with that. But really good season for the guy. I think he's honestly I think he was a freshman too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a freshman. Yeah, freshman at 6'2", 190 pounds. Are you kidding me? NAU had some pretty good pieces on that defense, and obviously they finished. I think they were 5-3 in conference. So 5-3, yeah, they were 5-3 in conference. Like, not a bad outfit in 2024, but they just 5-6 overall. I think they had a rough all non-conference schedule. But Alex McLaughlin, NAU, defensive back, 35 solo, 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. Great season for a freshman. We'll see how he does in 2024. We'll see how he does. Either way, next you have Marcus Howard, linebacker, edge rusher for Northern Colorado. Obviously, Northern Colorado went 0-11 in 2023, so nothing to sneeze at right there from them. Nothing, absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Marcus Howard was an honorable mention, all Big Sky honorable mention. 33 tackles, 33 total tackles, 13 solo, and 5 sacks. I'm not trying to down this Northern Colorado squad, but I think I was, reaching to find somebody on this Northern Colorado squad, because there's not a lot to be proud of when you look at this squad in terms of their stats, and they got beat up by everybody. That's just a fact. Hopefully they're able to turn it around this next year. I'm not going to talk too lengthy about him, but he was all Big Sky honorable mention. So obviously the coaches knew what he brought to the table. He must have got a certain amount of votes for people to understand what he does. Obviously his coach probably voted for him, but there's probably other people. Well, maybe, I don't know if the coaches are actually allowed to vote for their own players. Actually, they are. Yeah, because of what I just said earlier. Anyway, forget that. Great player, Marcus Howard. See what he's able to do in 2024. You guys let me know what you thought about this entire list. That is the whole Big Sky, and that is my top player from each squad in the Big Sky returning in 2024. You guys let me know if I missed somebody. You guys let me know if I hit on somebody, like I got that right, 100% right. Let me know if this list is a 100% banger or if this list is a bummy list. Let me know in the comments, and we will move on.